Hey, what's up, guys? It's Harry and Eden. Just jumped off the Resilient Minds podcast with Eric. Great conversation. We spoke about finding your why factor, finding your X factor, and everything in between. Talking about finding your purpose, having impact, and delivering value to people. An absolutely amazing conversation. You need to listen, and it's time for me to check out. So thank you, guys, and we'll speak soon.
Beautiful. We are live with Mr. Harry. Harry, what's going on, brother? Super excited to have you here. Welcome you too for everybody that's coming on.
Hey, what's happening? Yeah, no, thank you for having me on. Pleasure to be here. And yeah, let's get straight into it.
Beautiful, brother. So, and where are you right now? You said just outside of London.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm just outside of London. I'm in Maidstone, if anyone knows where Maidstone is, but yeah, it's just outside of London in Kent.
Cool, bro. So for those of you that don't know Harry, Harry's a gun when it comes to social media, and I'm excited to tell you a little bit about him. 5 months after graduating from university, he dropped out of his 9-to-5 job in architecture and pursued a new direction in social media marketing. Fascinating story, bro. I was an accountant, and I dropped out of my job as an accountant in the corporate world. So from that, Harry went into a separate coaching business to help entrepreneurs, like many of the people that are tuning in into the Resilient Minds podcast, scale their business online and retain customers for a lot longer. 9 months later, Harry has scaled his personal brand on Instagram to over 90,000 followers and leveraged it to grow his amazing social media marketing agency and his own coaching programs alongside this. Through his content creation, paid advertisements, specifically Facebook, which is a key leverage point, and page management, he helps tremendous entrepreneurs scale up by acquiring customers they never knew they even existed and retain current clients to help add more value and boost revenue. Now he's expanding his presence onto new platforms such as YouTube and continuing teaching others how to build their influence, income, and community through their social media platforms. Brother, welcome. I'm blessed to have you here, bro.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for the introduction.
Absolutely, bro. Man, you got to give credit where credit is due. And I'm super excited to, pick your brain and, see how we can add tremendous value to the community. Brother, in the Resilient Mind podcast, I always that it is always through our experiences that we are able to cultivate our powerful why, our why factor, our purpose. And so I call that like turning our X factors into our Y factors. So has there been, a defining moment, or maybe a multiple of them, that have allowed you to see that distinction, that allowed you to create a core understanding of what is that why that's going to drive you moving forward to where you are today and where you're going?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think that for me, one of the biggest turning points in my journey so far was when I made the switch from leaving my job to going at it alone. And the reason being is that when I was in my job, I was unhappy. I wasn't enjoying the job as much as I thought I wanted to, and much as I thought I did. And I wasn't fulfilled with what I was doing. I was getting work done, but I just wasn't happy at the end of it. So one day I essentially made a choice to pursue this social media idea that it had been going on in the years before, and something I'd been practicing and learning about anyway. I decided to pursue it. And it was when I signed my first client that it was that moment of relief, but that moment of like, wow, this is possible, that I was in a position where I was being paid more money for this one client than I was for the architecture job, first and foremost. But the fact that I now had the freedom of choice in terms of how I work with this client. It was up to me what I produce. I decided the direction, and I already had a great relationship with this client already because I was doing some work previously for him. And it just made me realize that this is what I want. I want to work under my own terms with the people who I want to work with, and I want to get them results as much as I want results for myself. And that was a very key turning point for me, and really opened my eyes to the possibility that I had in front of me.
Dude, resonance. So much resonance right there, bro. I can tell you that literally the reason why so many, I believe, entrepreneurs go into business, and like, I think they forget oftentimes that it's that freedom, that ability to make that decision to go in and make choices based off your own terms. So for example, this morning, I literally just got back from swimming in a waterfall, and I'm like, I gotta get back to spend time with, with Harry and connect with you so that I can give you more of, energy. But I decided this morning to spend time in the waterfall, or like, have breakfast in the jungle, like things like this. I remember, like, those are our whys. Those are our whys that we can still show up in the world powerfully. And I really, for anybody that's listening right now, I really want you guys to take those down, because those whys are what will continue to drive you even when it's difficult. Do you agree, Harry?
Look, 100%, when I was in that 9 to 5 job, I struggled to wake up in the morning. And now I wake up at the crack of dawn and I'm raring to go, and I go to bed as late as possible because I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Like it's completely night and day, the difference when you enjoy something.
Dude, and that is the evolution, man. So like, you've been on this journey, you probably went to college, obviously you as an architecture or university, and this profound journey, that we continue to believe because of society's expectations, right? It's like, the other day I was watching the movie Matrix. I watched it again because I like, from this new awareness, it's interesting to watch it again, right? And I'm thinking there and I'm saying, wow, we are born into a prison. You know what Morpheus says? He's like, you're literally born into a prison. And I'm thinking, and I'm saying, how many of us were born into that prison of like, university, education, white picket fence, get married, and like, that's what it is, right? So what has that evolution look like for you? Because for me, it was basically that. And then I woke up one day. But I'm curious to know, what was that profound journey of evolution for you?
Yeah. So I think that for me, I've always been very driven. I've always wanted to be the best at whatever I do. I've always been like that. And I think that coming from a family who are very keen on me to get a good education, to do well in school, to go on to get a university degree, I always felt like that was what I had to do. And, because I respect my parents and the way they see things, I sort of obliged, and that's the path I wanted to pursue. I think that when I started working for myself, it became apparent that even though I thought I was learning a lot while I was at university, I was, but I wasn't improving myself. I wasn't becoming a better person. I wasn't developing, skills that were essentially holding me back from realizing what I can. So I think that once I did leave that job and I went at it alone, I then had time to reflect. And I know it's very hard to reflect when you're waking up, going to a job, you're busy, you're doing all these things. It's hard to take time to reflect on you as a person. And I think we all need to do that. And when I had the chance to actually do that, that's when I realized, look, I need to make a change. I need to work on myself. And I sort of go by the saying that right now I'm working harder on myself than I am on my job. And I work very hard on my job, don't get me wrong, but I do work very hard on myself, because I know that if I make myself a success in everything I do, then everything I touch will be a success as well. So that was sort of the big change for me. And now it's just a case of everything I do it from a place of, is this going to make me better? And that's the way I look at it.
Dude, I feel that, and like, I got goosebumps. because coming from a place of like true abundance, you can only do that when you feel that coming through you first. And we can't give what we don't have. And I really found that, like, you know, when we do work as, you know, as leaders, you know, with our teams or like with our clients, that is always the key defining moment. So tell me more about like the work that you do on yourself so that you can give to others.
Yeah. So for example, if we go back a year, you know, before I sort of started this journey, I would wake up at, you know, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, eat my breakfast, go to work. You know, at lunchtime, I'd be on social media, just browsing. I'd come home and then I'd just try and switch off completely from work. So I'd, you know, spend time watching TV, or I'd play on my Xbox or whatever it might be. And that was my day. Now it's a case of I wake up early. So I wake up probably around 6 o'clock in the morning, which is early for me, but maybe not early for other people. But I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I go downstairs. I have my own routine. I started to sort of meditate and visualize, and I read in the morning. I make sure I get my exercise in. And in the evening, after I've worked on my business, I study. You know, you can check my story I put up literally last night. I study. I'm taking courses. I'm reading more books. I'm practicing. I'm doing my side hustles and all these things. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing. And only when I jump on podcasts and things like this, I get the chance to actually think about how far I've come in terms of myself. And it is quite amazing that when you do put your mind to something, the change it can have on your life, you know. And it's not even about the money or clients or anything like that. It's just about feeling happy with what you're doing and feeling fulfilled. And right now, I just feel so relaxed in what I'm doing that it's just such an amazing feeling. You know, I feel like I could do this, and I want to, like, for the rest of my life, and just be very happy doing it. Yeah.
And that is something that I think is like, you know, Tony always talks about, you know, the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. And for me, that really hits home, right? Because I remember the 9 to 5s. I remember, you know, working in the oil field. I remember selling cars. I remember doing all of those jobs and having that achievement, but never feeling fulfilled. And it's like, it's these key points. And bro, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's so much more that we execute on, right? But yet we still find time to make sure that we're looking after ourselves. Do you find that that's a must, right?
Yes, like, you know, I can't agree more on that. I think that if you don't look after yourself, then you can't look after others. You know, if you don't give yourself the best opportunity, you can't give others the best opportunity. So you have to focus on yourself first, and you have to be selfish in that sense, because, you know, like I just said, if you don't make yourself the best version you can be, then you just can't possibly give the best to whoever it might be, whether it's your partner, your friends, family, or your clients, whoever it might be. You have to make yourself in the best position first, so you can have the impact you want to.
Now, that is so important. Now, I'm sure that it's not always an easy road, right? There's ebbs and flows, and, you know, it's, you know, the resilient mind needs to really come out in times, which is why the why is so important. But like, what are some distinctions where, like, you know, you're like, holy shit, like, you know, there's times maybe in the past where you're like, I don't even know how I'm going to get through this, but I'm going to have the courage. I'm going to find a way. I'm going to make one. And that resiliency came out of you, and it was like, let's go. You know, there's nothing that's stopping me. I'm going to execute.
Yeah, so I think that I'm quite lucky in the sense that I have always been quite resilient in what I do, you know, and I have had that driven into me from particularly my dad, you know, and my parents in general, my dad in particular, who's driven that into me. So, you know, I am the type of person who I won't give up without a fight, so to speak. But I think that, you know, there has been so many times, particularly in the last sort of, well, since probably the start of this year, where I'd wake up in the morning and I feel like I've got like concrete on me. I can't get out of bed. You know, I feel stuck to that bed and I can't get up and I don't want to get up. But then, you know, recently I proposed to my partner, who is obviously now my fiance, and it's just the little things, you know, it's waking up and,
bro.
Thank you. It's just the little things, like waking up, looking to your side and seeing, you know, the person you care about, the person you want to do well for next to you. And for me, that's all I need. You know, that's all I need to get myself into shape and say, right, move your legs and get out of bed. You know, so sometimes actually the best form of motivation isn't for yourself, it's to do something for someone else. And it doesn't even have to be someone close to you. It can be a stranger on the other side of the world. So now when I sort of creating my content on Instagram, it's gotten to a point now where I'm not really doing it for myself anymore. I'm doing it because I know if I don't do it, I'm actually letting a lot of people down, because I'm helping people, I'm teaching people. And, you know, that is now a form of motivation for me. And when all these things come together, that is what helps me get up in the morning.
Brother, and those are the things that we need to keep in mind, and the resilience, because sometimes when people start, they think that it's an easy, immediate like success, like it just happens all of a sudden. So what would you tell to anybody that may be getting started today and they're like, you know, wanting to get started, but they're kind of like on the edge. They don't know what the next step is, or perhaps they think that it's an easy road immediately, right? Like that it's all of a sudden it just, you know, a brilliance happens. And which I know that maybe some people have that. I'm not saying that maybe some have. But I know for myself, speaking more for myself, there's ups and downs a lot. And it continues to be that way as we continue to go to a new level every time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, you know, even for those people who it appears like, you know, the world's landed at their feet, for them, there's always going to be ups and downs. You know, it's just we don't always see the ups and downs that happen to some people. I think that, you know, nothing is going to be easy, and nothing worth having comes easy anyway, you know, so you have to work. And the more you work, the more you get. You know, it's just one of those laws of the world where the more you give, the more you put out into the world, the more you will get, you know, the more you will receive. But I think it's so important that when you are giving, when you are creating or whatever you're doing, is make sure you don't expect anything in return. Because as soon as you do expect something, then that is when you don't get people, you know, reaching out to you, or you don't have the impact you want to, because there's always that subconscious thought in your mind of, oh, what am I going to get from this? And you just can't do that. You have to be completely giving and understand that that's the best way to do it. But yeah, I think that it's not easy. All I can say is that it's obviously hard, but it gets easier. You know, it's never easy, but it does get easier. You know, the more you do something, the better you become at it. And I think that especially what I've noticed as well is that when you're in a position where you don't know what to do, the best thing is just to pick one thing and just go with it. Because only when you actually put something into action can you then get the feedback, and whatever feedback that might be, that then informs you on what action you then need to take, what changes you need to make. So for me, like the start of this year, I thought I was going to go into the world of like branding and doing brand strategy and that type of thing. And only through putting that into action, I realized actually, no, that's not what I enjoy. That's not exactly what I want. And then it become more about the marketing. Then it become more about social media. Then it become more about Instagram. Then it become more about content on Instagram. And then it also become about running paid advertisements and driving traffic and all these things. And, you know, I never knew I wanted to do this in January, but only by taking action on my choices at that time did I get to this point. So you just have to pick one direction and just go for it, and you adjust along the way.
Absolutely. And stay focused, pivoting, right? Like pivoting when you need to. It sounds like what I'm hearing is that you pivoted when you needed to, because that's where you were excelling, and you continued to excel in that way. Am I hearing you right?
Yes, no, that's it, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I
Absolutely.
was going one way and I had to pivot because that was what I was naturally good at. So I had to go that way.
So describe the process of, how you serve, your clients, how, people are really, when they come in at a foundational level, what is that process look like when they come and work with you, Harry? So like, if anybody is ever curious, like, they know someone that's tremendous and they can reach out to you.
Yeah. So what I always try and do, and right now my focus is on my main sort of service delivery is creating content for people online. And everything else that comes with that, the management and paid ads, that's sort of a secondary thing. But the main focus is the content. And for me, it's about when you come to me, well, what's unique about you? What is unique? And it could be anything. It could be the way you deliver your service. It could be what your service actually is. It could even be you as a person. But we try and find that because I'm a big believer in that to be successful on social media, you really have to be unique, more so than in a traditional business landscape, purely because there is so much noise on social media. There are so many people out there posting about the same topics, posting the same type of ideas. So you have to find what it is that makes you unique. And that's something I try and focus on at first. And once you get that down, and obviously this is a process, it doesn't happen overnight, but we continuously iterate an idea and we create a piece of content or multiple pieces of content that truly reflect your brand and put you, above the noise and get the attention you deserve. And that's essentially what I try and do. And then from that point onwards, it's just a case of producing the content, constantly iterating, constantly looking at, analytics, where we can improve. And then, if it's obviously necessary, depending on niches and what industry you're in, you might need to do a paid strategy as well. And then that's when those other things come in as well.
I love it. So when people are, and you talked about iteration, which I think is really powerful. An iteration, control versus when it comes to like how important it is to understand that it's not about just going. It's like a deadly sin to just throw something, set it and forget it in marketing, because marketing is a science and we really need to test things. Do you agree with that statement?
Yes. Well, yes and no in a way. I mean, yes, I agree in the sense that you have to look at, the analytics and those sort of facts and figures that, they're quite tangible. They're very easy to look at and understand, but they don't always tell the whole story. And I think there is another side to marketing, which is much more organic, much more natural, which you have to be aware of. And if you're not, then I think that's when you can start making mistakes. So it's just little things, it's like, for example, you might get 50 comments on your posts. Now, from a marketing standpoint, you might think, oh, wow, you might think, no, that's quite low actually for what we want. But then when you look at the comments, what are they actually saying? Are they engaged in the content? Are they asking questions? Do they want more? And is the post having impact on that person? And that's something you can't track through analytics, but it's much more organic and natural that you have to be aware of, and you have to listen to your audience. So, I'll give you a great example with someone like Gary Vee. He always goes on about how he listens to the audience. So I can almost guarantee that he's not sat behind a computer checking the analytics, checking the data, and doing that side of things. He's probably in his team, they are. But he knows that it's all about people. And essentially, if you get that right on your page, on your social media, then it doesn't matter what the analytics are, because eventually your page will take off, your page will go where you want it to, and you'll have the success you want. So it's, for me, it's about the balance of the science side of marketing and also that more natural side.
But still, would you agree that when you're doing the natural side, you still have to test it, right? So you still have to test it organically to see if that message is working, rather than just saying the same thing and leaving it to chance. Like, it becomes that organic connection, but having the ability to speak to what they truly are needing or wanting, specifically, actually, even more, is way more enhancing to creating and cultivating community, or perhaps creating, an understanding that people are actually interested and curious about the content that you're putting out.
Yeah. No, 100%. You have to test and try different things because, again, I like to use myself as an example because it's what I know most about. And what I found is, obviously, when I started my page, I was talking about branding, and I always thought that that's the direction I wanted to go in. I just assumed that's what people wanted to hear from me, but only through testing and trying out different types of content, different topics, that I realized that not only did I enjoy talking about sort of social media side more in my content, but that's what my audience resonated with more. And that's something that I wouldn't have found out if I didn't experiment with that side of content. So yeah, 100%, you have to test, you have to try new things and be aware of the impact, the results, the analytics that you're getting from that.
I love it. So you're talking about impact and results, and that's like one thing I'd love to pivot to because I think that's super powerful. I always talk about value, adding value, value-added marketing, and really influencing that based in your business. But value, focusing on impact, and then defining that with results. Really looking to achieve, because everybody wants results immediately, right? That instant gratification. That's what's like really presumed inside of like society today, right? Mm-hmm. Now, what would you say based off of value and impact that they need to do, or people, anybody that's listening, not they, like, people that are interested in actually growing and, acquiring more clients, or, emphasizing their brand image online, or, retaining and keeping more customers. So for that lifetime value, what would you say that they need to influence more with their values or adding value? What would be a powerful or the impact to make that impact?
Yeah. So I think what's something that people have to understand is that what you see as value isn't necessarily what your audience sees as value. And that's something that's quite hard to grasp at first, and, you could be a certain type of brand and you think that what you offer, your service, your product, you think that's the ultimate pinnacle of value you can give to your client. When in fact, it could be something far less than that. It could be something more, but it all comes back to that testing the different ideas and understand that you have to try out different things over time to see what people resonate with and find what they define as value. Because some people, they want to be educated, they want to learn something new. Some people want to be motivated, they want to feel good about themselves. Some people want to be entertained, they want to laugh, they want to cry, whatever it might be. So you have to work out what the value is for your specific audience. And you can only do that by trying different things. But I think that what's so important moving forward is that essentially your content does all of them. Because, as human beings, we want all of those things anyway, and whether we say we do or not, all those things matter in our life. And if, as a brand, you can deliver that in your own unique way with your own brand message to your audience, to your clients, then that just sets you apart from your competition, and it gives you that top of mind sort of position for your clients. And it makes such a difference. I use an example of people talking about Instagram and how to grow on Instagram. There's thousands of people doing it on social media, particularly on Instagram, talking about strategies to grow your page. But the difference with those who stand out, the difference with those who grow and have a strong community, is that they talk about those things, but then they add in everything else I just said. They make it not only educational, but they make it entertaining. They make it motivational. There's a sort of emotional and sort of relatability to the content, which makes it that much more personal and impactful. And only when you can do all those things can you create the content you truly want and have the impact you truly want to?
Absolutely. And I think you're touching on such a value here that's so important. So for me, I would love for the audience to get like a way that if there was 3 tactics that you could give them, right, that they could start growing more on Instagram, let's say, what would be 3 top of mind tactics that they could go and just go do right now? What would you suggest?
So I think that, there's always so many things I could say. But I say that there's 3 foundations to sort of growth online, or to sort of have an impact, however you want to put it. But there's 3 foundations. The first one is your content. The second one is your engagement. And the third one is your consistency. Now, obviously, consistency is pretty straightforward. Show up every day, whether you're posting every day or showing up in stories, doing lives, whatever it is, show up every day. That's important, because so many people online, if you don't show up every day, you just get forgotten about. And on the technical side of things, if people aren't clicking, they don't get shown your content as much. So consistency is very important. In terms of engagement, now, when I say engagement, people tend to think you have to be on Instagram, for example, and commenting, messaging people for 5 hours a day. You don't have to do that. You don't have to. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I actually done that when I first started my page, but I realized it's not the most effective use of time. But essentially, you have to understand that these platforms are called social media for a reason. And as everyone says, social media, you have to be social. But it's not just about, talking to people. It's actually understanding your market, understanding what they want, getting the insider knowledge, which is so hard to get from a normal marketing perspective. It's such a great ability to be able to message one of your customers directly and actually ask them a question or have a normal conversation with them. There's not many other sort of marketing techniques where you're able to do that so easily and so readily. So it's so important to actually communicate with your audience and talk to them and make them feel like you care, because there's the old saying that they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So that's why engagement is so important, because it's having that communication with people and building that community. Now, on the content side of things, it's about finding what makes you unique. It's about producing something that really stands out. And, when something stands out, it doesn't have to look the best. It doesn't have to be the best piece of content. It literally just has to be different. That's all it needs to be. It needs to be different so people look at it. Because when people look at it, they're more likely to click on it. And when something stands out, it's sort of like that shiny new object syndrome. People like to look at things that are different and engage with them. So, your content has to be unique. But at the end of the day, it has to add something to people. That value, essentially. It has to add something to them. And obviously, I won't repeat what I said, but remember that value is what they say it is. It's not what you say it is.
Absolutely. And it's so funny, like that. I love that you ended off with the value is what they say it is, because it's about how many times do we get stuck in our own minds about our brilliance or what we think the offer should be or how it should look. And then we start focusing on ourselves rather than the client or the people that we're supposed to be serving.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really key distinction that you shared there. Brother, you have tremendous ideas. You have tremendous, insight. So where do you find some of the best ideas? Where do you come up with these great ideas?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I get asked that a lot. And I think that a lot of it is just from being on the platform, talking to people and getting insights from other people, because, essentially when you talk to people, when you listen to conversations, you get insights just from that and you get ideas. So, that's where a lot of it comes from. But, at the end of the day, I study a lot. I read books. I watch Tony Robbins videos. I watch, Russell Brunson and all these other people. So, they're a great source of inspiration. But but I mean, look, at the end of the day, you know, I have to be honest. And most of the time, when I think of an idea, it just comes from my head. But obviously, it's not original coming from my head. It's coming from my head because I've read it somewhere or I've learned about it somewhere. But I try and always put my unique spin on it. I put my experience into that idea, and then that's what makes it my, you know, my unique post, is that I put myself into my content.
Absolutely. It's like, you know, Steve Jobs said when somebody asked him, where do you get your best ideas? He said, I've stole them all.
Yeah.
Right? He's like, he was so funny when he said, like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, like, you know, all of these great ideas, it's like, all the great ideas there's I believe like there's so many powerful, amazing ideas on there, and there's so much that I don't know that I don't know. And you know, have you been to a Tony event yet?
Say that again, sorry.
Have you been to a Tony event yet?
No, I haven't. I'd love to go to one. I mean, that'd be amazing, but no, I haven't.
I can't wait to see you at one, brother. We're doing Date with Destiny next week, which I'm really excited about. But nonetheless, to like the energy in those rooms and the people that you meet and the presence that you feel and the connection that you have, it really is something of a whole beautiful concept. And the value that is out there and, you know, collected. What I love about Tony is he's collated some of the most brilliant ideas in the world, packaged it all up together, and made it into one brilliant way, you know, a lot with his unique presence, with his unique, you know, gift, with his unique experiences. And that's what I always share is like, we can all do the same. We can all be empowered by that brilliance from our predecessors and utilize it in our own capacity, based off our own insight, based off our own experiences, based off our own X factors, and allow it to contribute to our big whys. And that's what I think that is like a fundamental foundation for us to continue to share, because that's how the next generation that comes after us is going to learn. And because we're going to carry on those insights from our past, from the people before us, right?
Yeah.
So, brother, I really, you know, I really want to know, like, you know, you have massive values. I love that you love Tony, because, as you know, Tony's like my mentor. He's, you know, I've been like, I'm all in there, you know, like front row and center. But like, for me, value is so important. And like, I always look at like integrity-based human influence, how we show up in the world, and showing up with ethics, with like a connection with people, with love. How do your values show up in your work? And what are your values?
I think that for me, I've always had this honest, no bullshit approach, so to speak. You know, very straight talking. That, you know, I will say what I believe, and you know, what annoys me is when people dress something up and when they put too much fluff into something, and it completely hides the meaning, or it completely takes away from what they're trying to teach, or it hides what they're trying to teach on purpose. So I think that for me, and you see it in my content and the way I talk and the way I communicate, is I just try and be as clear as possible, as simple, as transparent, as honest as possible, because that's what I believe in. I think that, you know, honesty and integrity is such a big thing for me. And that's something I like to try and get across in my content, just simply through the way that I teach it, through the way that I actually design it, the way that I do the copywriting, and everything in between. They're the two big things for me, is honesty and integrity. You know, it's something I really believe in. And I think that, you know, if everyone was like that, then obviously, you know, as people say, the world would be a better place. So yeah, I think that they're the two biggest things for me.
You know, I love that, brother, because I think there are more people with integrity and honesty like that, and like willingness to show up with boundaries, right? Like being willing to hold those boundaries, and like, you know, like you called it the no bullshit approach. I call it the, like, the willingness to communicate in a powerful way. All of that is so important. And I find that, especially in our business, in this world, there is a lot of fluff out there. There is a lot of, like, and it's our duty to show up in integrity, because there is things out there that, people are not being looked after the proper way. And I think that, that's what I love about you and your content, bro, is like, you are showing up in authenticity. You are being unique. You are standing out, and you're willing to do that with a no bullshit approach. So I love it. So I really want to acknowledge that, dude. It's like, it's cool. It's cool to see. And it's like-minded brother, man. So I appreciate you, bro. And I'd love to know one last thing, because I know we're getting close to time here. There's so many people out there, right? 7.7 billion people in this world. And at the end of the day, there's probably a lot of people that are going to disagree with us, disagree with the way that we look out on the world, disagree with the way that we serve our clients, the way that we run our businesses. How do you view, how do you respond to people that have opposite points of view from you?
Yeah. Well, I embrace that in a way. I actually want people to disagree with me. It's quite frustrating if I post something, for example, and everyone agrees. I don't want people to agree with me. I want people to disagree in a way, because ultimately, although I believe strongly in what I know and what I do, I'm also very open-minded, and I will adapt and I will change if I have a different perspective. So I want that debate, because that's what helps me to learn. And I think that the key thing about having impact and learning and becoming better, you also have to unlearn at the same time. And that's what I enjoy about creating debates and having people who don't agree with me, because then that helps me, if necessary. I might have to unlearn something. I might have to change something that I do and do it in a different way. So look, I embrace it. The only sort of caveat on that is that I always believe, if you're going to disagree with someone, you have to do it in the right way. You have to be respectful in the way you do it. And that's a key thing I always say. And something that I sort of try and push is that we should create content that's polarizing at times, not because we're trying to cause uproar or because we're trying to cause, issues, but because nothing ever happens, or nothing will change in the world, or you'll never learn anything if everyone just agrees with everyone and just gets on and just agrees. No, there has to be conflict in a good way, that people can sit down, talk about, learn new perspectives, and then you go in a new direction and build from that. So I completely embrace it when it's done in the right way.
I love that, dude. And that is the key to expansion. That's the key to how we expand ourselves, is like being willing to see from a different lens, or a different opinion, or like different understanding. And, I've been on this like traveling journey for the past, almost 4 years now. And I've been traveling the world and like digging fucking deep, bro. Like digging deep. Like I'm coming at you from Brazil in the middle of a jungle, dude. Okay? like I am fucking digging deep here, Like yesterday I was at a cacao ceremony and they were playing music all night. I can hear it. Like it's fucking awesome. But the digging the deep part, like the expansiveness, is so powerful, because it comes back to what we said in the beginning, is if we can't seek, or if we can't create that abundance within ourselves, if we can't see the power of the lenses of multiple different people, or if we're not willing to be observers rather than just the thinkers, and watch the thinkers as an observation, then we're always going to be focused on one point of view, and we're all different. And that polarity that you're talking about, that polarity that you're emphasizing, that is the energy that we connect in resonance to the right people that we actually end up having the blessing to serve. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. You know, again, it's one of those things that if everyone agrees with you, then you're sort of doing something wrong. You know, you have to have people that disagree with you to have people that actually agree with you. So yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that you need to have those people that disagree to be able to serve the people who truly believe in what you're saying and agree with you and everything you believe in.
I love it, brother. I love it, man. You've given us such a path to success. You've given, you know, people on here so much value, bro. And I'm super grateful. What do you feel? What do you think? What do you observe is one reason why people fail?
I think that a lot of the time it's that self-doubt that people have, in the sense that it's like going to the gym and you don't see the results for a long time. You know, you can be as consistent as you want and you don't see the results for a long time. You know, some people can see the results in 2 weeks, some people in 2 months, some people it takes 2 years to see results. But, you know, one key thing I have to point out to everyone, and I always say this, is that if you're consistent, if you show up every day, not only on social, but as in yourself, improve yourself every day, show up, be consistent, you know, make no excuses, that will pay off for you. You know, when, I don't know, I can't give you a timeline, but it will. It always will, as long as you stick to it. And that should be the sort of self-belief you have, and understand that even if you're not getting the results you want now, if you stick with it, as long as you dedicate yourself to being better every day, then you can have whatever you want. That's what I realized at the start of this year. And that's what I'm doing every day now, is becoming better, 1% better every single day. And then for me, you know, if I want to do something, I know I can do it as long as I work towards it and be consistent.
Anything is possible, man, with consistency. And it's such truth, such knowledge there, such like, we really just need to set ourselves to it, bro. I really, like, I love that advice. It's so powerful, bro. Dude, you know, thank you again for all your time. Thank you for all your brilliance. Thank you for all, you know, the gifts that you were able to share with us today. How does somebody find you, Harry, if they don't follow you yet, or if they don't know, you know, is there any information they can get, anything about anything?
Yeah. Yes, I mean, the best way to contact me, if you ever wanted to, was either on Instagram. So it's at the Harry Needham. So Needham is spelled Needham. A very easy way to remember it. So at the Harry Needham. On YouTube, I'm on YouTube now, which is just Harry Needham. On LinkedIn, Harry Needham as well. So yeah, I mean, just find me on any of those platforms. Reach out, and you know, I'm happy to help anyone. You know, even if it's just for a little bit of advice. If I see the message, I've got the time, I'm happy to help anyone.
Beautiful, Harry. And make sure you guys, you know, send them a like, you know, send them a follow, check out everything. And more importantly, if you love this podcast, share it with your community, tag both of us. We'll reshare it. It'll be a lot of fun. We want to really see, you know, how much value you guys are taking in, because it's super important. Brother, I have one last question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you had 3 days left to live, what would you do?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I think I'd make one last post for Instagram. I don't know what it would be, but I'd make one last post anyway. I'd make one video for YouTube, and again, I don't know what that would be, but I would make it anyway. And then I would just log out of all of my social media. I'd delete everything, and I'd just go back to my family. I'd try and get married within a day. I'd try and go on holiday within a day or something. I try and do something with my family. That's the whole point. But yeah, that's what I do. 3 days, just get that all done.
I love it, bro. Love it, dude. Do you have any last insights? Anything you want to share?
No, I mean, just look, I think that it's very important to understand that the way I see it, the way I see the world going, is I think that having a personal brand or just showing up on social media is going to define the success of you and your business moving into the next decade or the next decades to come. You know, I really believe that is the way the world is going. I think we're only at the very beginning of social media and the impact it's going to have. So if anyone is on the boat, you know, or on the fence, I should say, about whether they should do social media, whether they shouldn't, whether they should do a personal brand or shouldn't, the answer is you should do both, and you should go all in on it right now, because believe me, in 5-10 years time, it will pay off massively.
Love it, bro. Such great advice, man. Dude, I appreciate you. I just want to say once again, thank you for your time, man. It's been a blessing to connect with you, man. Let's stay in touch. Let's stay connected. I look forward to, having this go live, like on the actual podcast. I know we're live on Facebook right now, but brother, appreciate you. Much love. We'll talk soon, okay?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate being on.
Appreciate you.